It's good. It's on. It's not good. It's good. Yep. Okay, everybody say. It's good or it's not so good? No, if it's good, it's good. It's good. It's over there. It's good. How about Kallus? Is it good? Okay. So we have a lot to talk about. Rabbi say a lot to talk about. First of all, yesterday I mentioned the shaila about a Swiss Army knife. Swiss Army knife that has various parts. It has the can opener, it has the peeler, it has the shaver, all the different things in a Swiss Army knife. So we said that Lamaisa, it has chalakim that are mutter. And about it has chalakim that are mutter, it's schwer to say that such a thing could possibly be a klitsha malachta li'isser. Difficult to say. The Mishabur and Zivkot and Chav says, Imaya malachta li'isser, uleheter, and l'cha malachta li'isser uleheter, gatul mizais. It has both malachtas. So yesterday I said it was mutter. Interesting, I saw in the Shmir Shabbos in Perek Chaf, in the 84th Ha'ara, something that I have to digest. I'm not sure if I agree, I'm not sure if I disagree, I'm not sure. He says right. It sounds like what he's saying is right. So it's something I can't place over here. And it's something that I tried to look in Ilchus Tumah V'Taira to try to find a raya to it. He says, it's true that you can move around this Swiss Army knife and it's no problem opening up the part with the bottle opener, etc., the corkscrew. He says, but you can't take out, let's say there's what's the mux in there? Well, a screwdriver. You can't open up the screwdriver part. You can't open up the screwdriver part because he said that part is a problem. I can't put my finger on this. There's something here which is bothering me. I don't know. I would have thought that the Chazal, if it's one kli, so then it's one kli that has a tzarich heter and a tzarich iser, and the Chazal, we're not going to mux on her. I don't know about mitzat sheni. There's something here which is quite appealing to what he's saying. Like, what, you're going to open up a screwdriver? You're going to take the screwdriver? I need time to think about it, but I wanted to tell it to the oilam. I'm sorry? Oh, so that was the mashal. That was my nimshal. No one's going to say if you have different things on a ring, so you're going to be allowed to move the muksa one. So you're only going to be allowed to move the non-muksa one, and then everything else will be considered tilta min hatzad. The indirect movement of the muksa one to the muksa one. But to go and actually hold that, but that's different because there it's taka attached by a ring. A ring is an external attachment which doesn't necessarily make it into one. In Hilchos Tumah V'Taira, it certainly wouldn't be considered one kli. Mashing in here, I don't know. I was trying to find rayas in Mishnais and Kalim, and I was unsuccessful. This is considered one kli. I don't know. You have a raya? What? Yeah, but it's not just that it holds it together as like an external thing. It's one kli. It's. I would imagine if one part becomes tamei, the whole thing becomes tamei, not because of it's memela. It's one kli. Sorry. Which thing are you talking about? The Swiss Army knife? Yeah. Nafkamino be if I want to hold it from that part. Let's say, No, I can't put my finger on it. I wanted the oilam to think about it. That's why I gave it to you. Mit Hashem. I'll try to have achra, but yeah, sorry. Okay, so that, like what? Like, give me an example. Yeah, the can opener itself. Yeah. Well, so that already, it's almost not shaykh to believe that such a thing won't be considered klish machta leheter v'isser, which is mutter. That's number one. Number two is you have to understand that based on what we were doing yesterday is this is a davar that's pashit beyond the shadow of a doubt, and I want to make that extremely clear. Hilchas muksa is kol kuloi subjective. For those that don't know the English language, that means that it's kol kuloi tali in yedeina fazichalayim. Everybody has to look at himself. I gave yesterday the klal is what is considered muksa, what's considered malachta the itzer, etc. Each person has to figure out himself. If you buy, some people buy a hammer, so that what's the reason why one guy buys a hammer? He buys a hammer because he's a weird guy. I'm not saying everybody's normal. I'm not saying I'd also want to make a shidduch with the guy. But some people, they buy a hammer because they like scratching their back with a hammer, right? I'm not saying he's normal. But for him, that hammer is 100% the klishum lachta leheter. There's nothing wrong with scratching your back with a hammer. And this has nothing to do, and mitzat sheni, on every single kli in the world, Rabbi Yisai, there are dvarim hamutarim that you could do. V'haraya, there's a concept of sarich gufay. Tzarech gufay means that the item itself is oimid umiyuchad for dvarim hasurim. And there's a dover that I could do with it. Sometimes I do a lot of times with it, perhaps that goes into gufay. What we were being establishing yesterday is what's the yud of the kli, what's the chefts of this kli. Now, everybody in this room has to figure it himself. When I was talking about my big chicken pot soup after this year, people are telling me they don't have a chicken soup pot like this. He has a family with a lot of children and they eat the whole chicken soup all at once. The shragis all look like this, Rabbi. By us, a chicken soup pot can fit for the next, can go for a few months. Some people, they eat what I eat in a week. They eat in one setting. That doesn't mean that, each person's their own. I'm not, nobody has to come into my life and I won't go into yours. Verstehst? So, but the chicken soup pot, if you have a chicken soup pot like me, that is a huge chicken soup pot, you make it for 4 weeks and whatever, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's a kli shemlach del yisr, because it's kol kulei functioning as one thing. Just to cook the soup. You might store it overnight in there or whatever, but then that's what you do with it. You cook with it. And then, I came home, I told my wife we're different than everybody else. Everyone was making fun of me and whatever. She told me what we do is normal and they're all not normal. That's what she said to me, right? That's so it was good for me. But the Maisa, no, if somebody in this, so what I was trying to figure out yesterday, who's like me, and I'll give you an example, a baking tray. I think a baking tray is a good example of a kli shemlach del yisr, I think, right? I know I'm going to find out now, but when I speak in that type of terminology, I mean, you have to. If somebody's going to come down and say, "Me, what? The baking tray? What do you mean?" That's we use it as a serving tray afterward, and then afterward we use it also as a sun visor, right? And some people they use it as a surfboard. Teach their own. I'm talking about in the norm, right? So baking tray, I think normal baking tray is a kli shemlach del yisr. Well, you serve with the baking tray? What? And no, the first time serving is not. I mean, but you'll afterward you put it back like that and everything. It'll be no. I don't think so. I think it's a baking tray is. But you will put it in the fridge overnight. That's already very weird, right? I did I just insult you? No, I'm saying that's already just downright strange. Nobody puts it in. You might do that because you're being lazy. Right? Whereas in a pot, no one's going to say when a person's putting a pot in the fridge it's because he's being lazy. That's a very normal thing. I think it's a pshat is I just want to go to sleep, and therefore I'm putting it in the fridge. Right? Rabbi Chodi, where are you? Yeah? What do you say? You're with me? You're with me? Okay, so I'm normal. I'm normal. What? That's exactly what I'm trying to bring out. I'm saying this is the norm. If somebody says it's not true by me, he has to, make sure that he's right. But this is, everyone has to do cheshbon and nefesh. I can't agree with you more. I think so. I couldn't agree more. Again, we're giving the klal, and then we're using examples to try and help everybody over here. That's what I do all the time. I try to help everybody here, and we all work together to help each other. Okay. What feels natural? That's not going to go over well over here. You still new? Okay. Watch it. We have some, we're worried about some of the fellows that they might have voted for Biden. So you're not with them, right? No. Okay. But no, he's asking a very good question. Let me explain to you his question. But let me explain your question with some more mishalim. Okay, let me explain with mishalim. Yesterday, I was having a difficult time trying to find the second case of Rabbeinu Hagadol, the Chafetz Chaim. We saw that if something is miyuchad for Isser, each person is on what he was miyacheded for. When I say these things of what's the norm, I mean, if everybody fits into this is the normal Agdara, this is now the halacha l'maisa of such Agdara. If the normal people, they use the chicken soup in the way that I used it, now the halacha will say that that's taka used for bishul. And that's something that's aimed for bishul, and therefore the once in a while that you might do this, that, whatever, is not going to take out its yud. That's what we explained yesterday. Maisa, it's an interesting thing, is I was trying to find the case yesterday for the second shot in the Mishnah Berurah. Second case. Mishnah Berurah says a second thing, which is that we go basa roiv when you don't have a yid. When it's not miyuad, it's not miyuchad, so now you have to try and figure out what is this thing? What is she? Is she a so I said yesterday I was having a hard time thinking of cases. Got it today, I had a lot of cases, and I realized it's taka very, very close out. I'll just give you an example. A ladder. What's a ladder? You look around, I looked in some books as far, and the taka say a ladder is a kli shemlach del yisr. Ladder is Klishma Lachta Yisr, because most of the time, again, I'm just explaining what they could possibly mean. But most of the time when you use a ladder, it's, what do you do with a ladder? Most people are using ladders to like get up there to build their sukkah, to this, to that. So I looked at my ladder today and I had a discussion. Wait, slow. A ladder is a great example. Rabbi say, a ladder is a great example of where you're going to have to try to figure out what is the Roy's usage of this creature. Right? That's a great example. It's a great example, much better than my scissor example, because each person in this room, afterward, I found out that he buys a scissor just for this, he buys a scissor just for that. A ladder is a great example. Is there anything for shmeksoch isser about a ladder? And I'll say it like this. When a person has a hammer in his house, his first reaction is not my hammer is a klishmach yisr. He has to prove me that it's not, and then we could talk. If in his life it's not, we'll talk, right? But that's because of the normal usage of a hammer is of it's pashut. But a ladder is everybody needs that creature in his house, right? Everybody needs a ladder in the house. Now, there's nothing about the ladder which is something which screams isser on its, just slow. Let's we'll talk about scaffolding afterward. Let's go slow. But the first reaction a person has of a ladder is, a ladder does isser. It's no shaykhs, right? So the first reaction of a ladder is what? That's your first reaction. Is it something that enables isser, or is it something that enables heter? So now that would be a gavaldic example. Each person has to look at his own ladder, right? I made a cheshbon and nefesh on my ladder. I looked at my ladder and I said, what? I think all the time I use my ladder taka for isser. Because if I want to get a sefer from a high shelf or something like that, I don't take a ladder. I'll just take a chair right there and I'll go up on the chair. Right? It's by me. I was thinking it always enables me to do isser. It always enables me. I have to change the light bulb, or right, or I have to hold it while my wife does, or something, right? Or I have to, with the sukkah. That's why she was out, because I was looking at, the ladder. She was like sitting there looking me in the face, and then I had, why are you out? Because I just take down the sukkah. The sukkah is something with this or this, that, whatever. So the Mela, it's something that enables isser. And I guess the sefer that writes it, he means, look, what's the most of the time a person uses it? He uses it to paint, he uses it to this, he uses it to that. Fine, but each their own. If somebody's going to come now, one moment. Oh, so now he wants to know, and the Freudiger says, who says that's called belachta li-isser? It's like a grum of an isser. It's a step removed from isser. It's a step removed from isser. Okay, so Maisa, let's go in order. Why is a pot in isser? It's interesting. This is what you have to dine with. Why is a pot in isser? A pot is something that doesn't do the isser. It enables the isser. It's a little bit closer, but the Freudiger tells me, right? So it's like a drop closer. Bishlam a hammer, with a hammer, tot me isser, with the hammer, it's mach mit arbit, But Mashen came with a pot, it enables me to do an isser, but it's not doing the isser. It's a little bit, it's something, and then the ladder is like up as one step even removed from there. A ladder is something that I don't do an issue with a ladder, but if let's say in my house it's 93%, that's the amount of times I use it to enable an isser, and 7% is I use it for heterim. So now we're going to koveya that at least its rove usages is isser. But he's asking, okay, so the rove usages are isser, but the rove usages are itself. Climbing maybe is the final use. That's his question. His question is, maybe climbing is not an isser. There's no isser to climb. So why do I look at it that the ladder, once I get to the top of the ladder, why am I going to the top of the ladder to go and knock in a nail, to go and paint? Maybe I should look at what I'm doing on the ladder. What I'm doing on the ladder is walking. I walk up the ladder. Once I get there, I do an isser. This is a very good shayla. It's a very good shayla. And Mr. Hashem, I want to bring rayas to this, to which way. I'm just trying to show you that if you'll be able to go beyond, you'll be able to go beyond and say, no, I take a look at a ladder, mitzad, it's toyelis. I look at the ladder, mitzad, it's toyelis. If it's going to enable me to do an isser, then this would be a good example of somebody that we go bust the percentages, bust the roiv or bust the miyat. That's a good example. Now, Maisa, you'll see in Mitzvah Shem, there are shtickle rayas to this, because in Gemara and Beya talks about taka ladder. The Gemara talks about a ladder, and the Gemara says it's really Shulchan Aruch brings it down later on. And Shulchan Aruch says, where's Sifites, I think? Sulam shalaliyah, Sifites, Sulam shalaliyah, shu gadol, ve'asui latiach by gagai. I have a ladder, which is large, and the purpose of having such a large ladder is that I can go and I could tiach, cement my roof or something like that. Aser l'taltalai. It's aser l'taltalai, right? Why is it aser l'taltalai? So the Mishabur brings, it's a shayla, it's a shtikol machlekes, if it's a klishim lach l'yeser, or it's a muksamach mitzchasarin kes. But it's at least a klishim lach l'yeser. So therefore, everybody here has to now change their hashkafa. You have to change your attitude. You have to change your whole entire attitude. What do you mean? When I climbed up the ladder, is there anything wrong with climbing up the ladder? No, there's nothing wrong with climbing up the ladder. It's a davar mutter ma'oid. To climb is a davar mutter. There's nothing wrong with climbing on Shabbos. What's wrong with climbing? You're allowed to walk, you're allowed to talk, you're allowed to walk up ladders on Shabbos. So you see from here, I myself wouldn't have said such a chiddush. I might have said such a chiddush. I would have said, I walk up the ladder, like you, I would have said like you, that I walk up the ladder, and that's a gemar davar, the gemar of walking. That which once I'm on top, it enables me in Isser, so that's a separate thing. Why should I look at it as a klishma? It's a gevaldige chiddush. I'm not 100%, I'm not kaveh masmer. When we get to your test, we'll be kaveh masmer. But at least you see already that we have to maybe change our hashkafa and broaden the, what's going to go into the Hagdara of an Isser. I wouldn't have said this on my own. I would have said Isser means a pot I could get, I can hear. Because, in order to cook, you need the pot. It's enabling the Isser mamish, not just like the grumma, it's mamish, the etzim chefza lane. Took them Isser. I could have heard that. You see not like me. So Mamela, just a moment. Now that I see not like that, he has a side even into Chazar and Kiss, because it's you only use it for Isser. Okay, that's a different shmuz. We'll get to Mitzvah Shem. We'll see if that's okay. But chutz from them. So what do I see now? Now a ladder. Everybody in it. So at the time of the Shulchan Aruch, they only used the ladder to be in tiach. I got in my house. I only used the ladder for the light bulbs, for the sukkah, for the this, for that, for things that are aser. There's a person sitting in this room right now. He tells me, well, you know what? 92% of the time I use my ladder for a high shelf to get a safer, right? So some guy, maybe he's running away. There could be a mouse in the house or something. He runs away. He climbs up the ladder. The mice can't climb up ladders. Or whatever. Each person their own. But that's a good example. No, listen, you like that example, right? That'd be a good example of where I look basar roiv. Because there's nothing inherently about, that's a Gavaldic example, because there's nothing inherently about a ladder which is screaming Isser. It's a ladder is used to enable, etc. So therefore now I have to look at the roiv usages of that ladder. And that's a beautiful example of where, and so in my case, it'll be muksa, it'll be still tzaraku from a kaimai, right? If I need the mokim, I'll be able to move it. God, it comes out a funny thing. If I need to use the ladder to climb up and get a safer, I'll be allowed to use the ladder to climb up and get a safer. But then we're going to get involved that if you have something else, you might have to use something else. Okay, that's it. But Stam, let's say I don't like the ladder the nafkamina in my house is a gevaldik nafkamina. Let's say the ladder, today, it was in the living room, right? That's where it was, because, just took down the sukkah. So now come Shabbos, and I realized, the ladder's there. So somebody else, he's going to be allowed to move the ladder, right? Me, I'm not going to be allowed to move the ladder. It's a very ironic thing. The people that have the ladder and they use it for heter, it's probably in the living room and they probably don't care. And they're allowed to move it. I goof it, right? Me, that I care because it's something that I never really used in the living room. Whatever. So to me, I'm not going to be allowed to move it. Good. That's the idea. I won't be allowed to move it because for me, it's not a. Sorry. No. That's very important. Very important. Thank you. If you come to my house and you move my chicken soup, I'm going to smack you. Right after Shabbos, because all those finger luck might get a mark or whatever. I'm going to give you a smack. Right? Because it doesn't matter that you use your pot for such and such. It's a hukva kafi the bailim. It all depends on me. It all depends on Kallus, right? And if you're not Kallus, it depends on you, right? But in my house, in my kelim, in my items, my chafetzim are totally in me. Nafkamina, let's say, again, okay, we'll see nafkamina. What'd you say, Rabbi Shender? What? No, I saw a hand. What? I don't know what you use it for. Who are you? Would you like to be Magali yourself? So if Reb Fischl uses his ladder to climb up, to get svarim and all types of zachen, and he uses. So I'm of course allowed to use his ladder and move around his ladder. I can move around his ladder because the cheftza of this ladder, she's not a klitsha malach tali isser. She is a klitsha malach tali hatter. Is that crystal clear, Rabbi Stein?
What if somebody lends let's say Rabbi lends me.
Yeah, that's a good shaila. What happens if I borrow a ladder on Erev Shabbos? That's a good shaila. What? Italian who? The borrower? The shail? I'm not sure. What? I'm not 100% convinced. It could be that the yiyud of a cheftza is based on the owner of the cheftza. As a matter of fact, kleimar loisfirli. Kleimar, like the Chazal say, leishmili, kleimar loisfirli. It's not true what you're saying. Avada, it's totally in the owner of this item. He's the one that's kaveya. So therefore, Whether he gave it to him before Ben Ishmael or he gave it to him after. Now, sometimes there are some people, they borrow things and they never give it back. It's a different, it's under sort of guy. What? Yeah, 100%, but he's lending his item. He's lending his item to use it for whatever he wants. So then that's called the tzarech gufay of that item. But the item, the shame of the item is hooked for verstetzlich if the bailim. It's a pasha. Sorry. No. I didn't say that. It's no. Avada in the house, we'll have to figure out who's the kaveya. He's the boss, but she's the bala boss. We have to figure that out, right? That I'm asking. But once we figure it out, right, whatever it is, and for both of them, it'll have the same din. The din is one. So Maisa, if you put your wife in charge of the house and in charge of the scissors and the this, that, and whatever, so then in this house, if the assumption is the scissors are used equally, 51% for heter and 49% for isser, so then these are mutatik scissors. Just a moment. Slowly. Yeah. In Kelm there was a tekana. I tell you the tekana in Kelm. In Kelm the tekana was like this. The tekana was after the Shiva would speak, so then you'd say, "That's schon gendigt." So the Rosh Hashiva in Kelm would say, "Yo, ich kann jetzt fragen eine Scheile." Right. That's how it goes. So here, it's not very official, but you have to let me finish the sentence. How's that? All right. So if you have a scissor that's 51% used for isser, and you punkt are the one that always uses it for the heter. You're the 49%er. It doesn't matter. The chefza of this chefza in this house is an isser. So then it's going to only be motel tzarech gufay tzarech mekayim. Right? But again, that's how you have to be kaveh. Is that crystal clear? That part before I answered Anusha. That's I hope clear. The what thing? Yeah. That's no matter what a big problem here. That's the Mishnah Berurah's question in general. Mishnah Berurah says, if something is 49% of the time used for heter, how could you say I'm makateh das for such a thing? It's completely used for heter. Correct. Okay, but it seems to be that we don't say that. Otherwise, you would say that's far on every gufay also. Let's say I use the scissor every once in a while. So why would you say I'm makateh das from the shimush heter? It's not so posh at that question. That's a question no matter what in Daiti on the Mishnah. Let's see. Now, sorry, the wet clothes is a whole different parsha. I don't want to talk about wet clothes. That's a whole different parsha. Now, because that's what gets involved in muktzah machmas. It's a very, very complicated thing. No, I gotta you reminded me of something with wet clothing that Rafalk Zecharnu Levracha, he once said over, I think in the Sukkah, he once said over that clothing pins are a klisha melachta de iser. They're klisha melachta de iser, right? Where everyone knows what clothing pins are. No, not safety pins. That they hold the laundry. What are they called? Pegs. He calls them pegs. Pegs. You know what that is now? Clothesline pins. Thank you. Pegs. Right. So the pegs. Right? So he once said over that they're muksa. Rabbi said he once said over that they're muksa. And what's the avana? What would you say? Why they're muksa? They're kli shemach l'yeser. Excuse me. They're kli whose main function is to do it. So now for shteitzach, if you use clothing pins in your house to hang up pictures that the kids made or whatever, fine. So then those are miyuchad for heter. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking, or maybe this will be a good example of where you have to figure out, if 51% of the time I use, that'll be a good example of what we spoke about. But let's say you have clothing pins. What are the real names? What? Clothesline pins, right? Pegs, right? It's known as a what? Yeah, so a snack bag, you know what I mean, right? A snack thing, clip, that for shteitzach, that in his house, it's a klisha machli heter. But let's say the ones which are by the laundry, right? The ones which are by the laundry, you put them over there and they're used most of the time for the laundry. Let's use those for a second, right? So those are regular klisha machli heter. Why are they klisha machli heter? What? So, because they So you, Rabbi Khan, have learned by me many years, and you're saying what I'm saying, right? But I wanted to cause trouble for a moment. How did I just jump into this? Oh, because you said with the wet laundry. You're out of my order. But so Rabbi Khan says, of course she's muksa. Of course she's muksa. Because what does she do? She holds up muksa. She's a klishim l'achtal yisr. Why? Her function in life is to hold a davar aser, is to hold muksa. Wet laundry, Mr. Hashem, we'll learn about this, but wet laundry, because we're afraid you're going to wring it out and this and that or whatever. Wet laundry is muksa. Take my word for it right now. I don't want to go into that part of the parsha. So what is her job? Her tachlis achayim, just like a hammer's tachlis achayim is to bang in a nail, her tachlis achayim is to hold muksa. Holding muksa is a davar shal iser. So she's a kli that is mishamish iser, it's mishamish muksa. That's the pashtus. So it's a kli shel achtal yisr. So Gada, you can ask a question. I got to ask a question on that. Maisa, wait a minute. Most of the life of this, I was driving over and I caught this kasha. Most of the life of a laundry pin is held holding what? Holding laundry that's not wet. Right? Right? I asked it? No, wait, slow. I didn't talk about laundry. This will be a raya. This is my mushal. We'll come to the nimshal in a moment. Most of the life of a laundry pin is holding up not wet clothing, right? Because what happens, you put the laundry on and you put it on wet and then it dries. You take it down the second, it's already dry. So it could be on the laundry line, it's on for, let's say, 10 hours. 2 of the hours it was wet, 8 of the hours it's dry. And let's assume the Matthias is right, just a moment. Let's assume the Matthias is right because it is. So now, the assumption is that, so it's a kli shemalach dailater. She holds up heter. There's nothing wrong with holding up the gatkis and everything. There's nothing wrong with holding these things up with laundry pins. It's a davar mutter. You're allowed to hold up dvarim mutarim on Shabbos. So what's the problem? So Vaisa, it's V'afal Pikein. I mean, he took on, it was pashut by him. He was Adam Gadol. It was pashut by him that it's a klishim achtal yisr. So you see from here something about what we spoke about yesterday. In other words, the ikar function and the ikar usage and the ikar siba and the ikar tachlis for shteitzach, why do I have a laundry pin, is to hold it up when she's wet. That's about why I buy the laundry pin. Let's say those types of laundry pins right? You do it in order to hold up the laundry pin. The fact that nimshach from them is your laziness and whatever, and that's a vada beyond the shadow of a doubt, not a shimush and a usage and not a tachlis of the laundry pin. That's just nimshach from my actions. That's just nimshach from my action. Now, yesterday, that's pashut. That's a davar pashut, and therefore that's why they would still be klishim achtal yisr. Right? Now, yesterday we spoke about somebody that uses a pot, let's say in the time of the Mishabura, just for the food, and then afterward, sometimes it'll remain there. It's nimshach, etc. I was asked yesterday, the big shaila in the Rashba. The Rashba holds that once something is Michael ben Drusai, it's already called fully cooked. According to some sheet, Michael ben Drusai is after a third cooked. That means 2/3 of the life of this food, if not much, much more, right, is doing dvarim mutarim, taking it from the realm of 1/3 to fully cooked. So why is the pot the klishim achtal yisr akapanim in the time of Rad and Shtetl? The answer is about it. There are some things that you can't get here. My case of laundry pin is 10,000 times easier. That's about the tachlis and the ikar. That's the clearest laziness and the clearest amshalcha. What we're trying to figure out is everything else. What else is considered a hemshech? Cooking is considered hemshech. Maybe leaving something in a fridge is considered hemshech. You can go so far. Yesterday I said leaving something in a fridge and whatnot, but all the way to actually serving with it, that's very difficult to call such a thing a hemshech. That's already very, very schwer. To say that serving it is already hemshech, that's what we're trying to figure out. At what point do we break it from its original tachlis ha'isr? So I saw that in the Orchos Shabbos, I wrote here, the 20th parak or the 19th parak. It's Bezer Chaf, I don't know what I wrote here. He writes that it's usher because of Maris Ayin. He writes that what's the isser? What's the isser of the laundry pins? The isser of the laundry pins is that it enables you, since you're not allowed to hang laundry on Shabbos, why are you not allowed to hang laundry on Shabbos? Wet laundry, why are you not allowed to hang on Shabbos? The reason why you're not allowed to hang wet laundry is because people are going to think that you went and washed the laundry. If I hang up wet laundry on Shabbos, they're going to think you wash. That's why it's not only that wet laundry. If you were in the rain and you got all rained on, so then we're afraid that people are going to come to you and say, hey, what happened over here? Why is that? Why are you hanging this out? It must be he washed it. So you're not allowed to hang out wet things. Okay, there's a whole sugya. We learned barichas, whatever. When yeah, when no, whatever. That's why. What's a laundry pin? A laundry pin enables the isser of hanging out things, which you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. That's the Marasayan. That's how he learns. Again, I'm not convinced that that's the only reason. It could be just done because wet laundry is muksa. Wet laundry is muksa. So its service is a muksa. I don't know if you have to come on to that, and it could be nafkaminas based on what we just said. But yeah. Money we're going to see. Money's the whole parsha. If it's muksa machnas kufa, let's stay away from money. Money's a shayla. If it's a kli bichlal, money represents something, right? But money is not a kli. So that's let's stay away. Money's also good. Mayas is one of the biggest sugis in all muksa. I'm sorry? These are very good questions. I must tell you, I saw something today. He's asking, how far do you take this? Now, I didn't see, somebody actually told this to me today, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He said that somebody asked Berkowitz, because he asked him if the chair by the computer, you have a chair that you leave by the computer, is that a kli shemach d'yeser? So he said, yeah, if you never move it and you only use it by the computer, it's a kli shemach d'yeser. That's tamua. Somebody misunderstood him, but sorry. So, but let's at least explain the shayla. The only time you use this chair is when you type on the computer. It's the only time you use the chair, right? So maybe that's a kli shemach d'yeser, right? Sure it is. What do you mean? Go and try. Go sit like this all day long. Yeah. It would be terrible. What?
It makes it's a comfort, but you can use the computer perfectly on a different chair.
You have to say better. What? I think that one second, Rabbi Chamshi, I think I'm saying like it. Let me say. If you say it better, then I'll give you the car keys. But you're not saying it like I say. If you say it better, I'll give you the car keys. You want to try it or no? But if not, I'll take yours. Whatever. I'll take your bike.
This is an item which is nothing.
Machenke, the ladder.
No, ladder, you can't not. It's not going up the ladder.
So all right, I'll give you guys a ride. No, you're all saying good, but it's a very good abchana of taking this l'chayra. When you have a chair, right? The chefza of sitting, right, is its own chefza. Its own chefza. When I sit, I'm sitting. Even though while I sit, I also type. It's basically what you guys are saying. When I sit, that itself is a shimush, is a tachlis. Okay, the fact that while I'm sitting, I write, I type, I this, I that, but the sitting is its own tachlis. A ladder is very different, right? The ladder, without being able to climb up the ladder, I can't get there to do the isser. The chair is something like you're saying in Nusach, it's comfort, it's this, it's that. So, but the shimush of the chair is its own egena entity of sitting and the enjoyment of sitting itself. There's no enjoyment of the climbing. There's no chefts of the climbing. The climbing is called kuloi to do the yisr. So therefore, we connect the meiser, and we look at it as one big meiser. That's the chayr. That's the chayr. It's all there. No, I think it's the same thing. Now, Rabbi say. So. I haven't even got to the controversial stuff yet. What? Should I tell you the controversial stuff? Yeah? No, so one thing before the controversial stuff. I should get straight to the controversial. I'll go in order. I'll go my order. So go my order. No, so somebody asked yesterday, Rabbi Lieberman asked me a question yesterday. He asked like this. He asked during the shir, you asked it, right? That if you have, let's say, a cholent pot, okay, we're going to learn soon about harama and when harama is mutter. Harama means, you could do something which is not for its ikr purpose, but now it goes and enables you to move this kli shemach. So yeah, you gave a good example. Let's say I have this cholent pot and I finished all the cholent in the cholent pot. Now by me punkt, I'm very, very navoich about the crock pot specifically, not the heating element, or the pot. I'm very nervous about the pot. I think by me, and you can all join in and, and discuss your own, I think this is something you go home and you should discuss it with your wives. And it's not, but by me, the cholent pot, the pot that goes into the heating element, I think she's a klisha malach d'liyaser in my house. I think she's a klisha malach d'liyaser because I don't serve from it. And now you understand why this, because you know how it is. It's not a shensta pot, sits in a hot mikveh the whole entire Shabbos. It's good, and it's not the finest looking thing and whatever. It's also big and bulky and hot. So that we don't bring to the table. To keep it in the fridge, never. Right? So now you don't have any of my svars. So the only thing is elamai svar that I spoke about, but we use it to heat up, and heating up is a davar mutter. But for whatever reason, the Mishnah Berurah doesn't go with that svar. I can't argue. That far I can't do, right? So Mishnah Berurah clearly is not going with the fact that you heat up. Heating up, I would have thought is a shima shel heter. And the Mishnah Berurah is clearly not going with that. So I'm not going to argue with the Mishnah Berurah. So therefore, mistama by me, the pot, this is why it's so important. That's why it's important to learn, because you're just going to make a xeris. Because you look in the Muktzah Svarim, I think you'll make a dreadful toyas. Some Muktzah Svarim write that the pots are mutter, some Muktzah Svarim write that the pots are also. It's a terrible toyas. It's a terrible toyas. Now you have to learn and you have to figure it out on your own, and each person has to figure it out. So by me, the pot from the crock pot is considered taka klisha machal yeser. No, it's myself. If you just a moment. So if you leave inside some cholent, so then you could carry it out of the cholent. Could you leave it inside for that purpose? That doesn't bother me. I'm okay with that. Okay, what if it's something that's like all just scrapings and you wouldn't eat it, but you'll say, I'll eat it just to move around. I don't know, later, ask the shilas to somebody else later. But now the shayla is a very good shayla. What happens, you have like this. What happens, you took out all the cholent from Yanapa, okay? And now it was in your serving, whatever, and there's a little bit of cholent left. And that challenge is done. It's over. Right? You're gonna call up some bacher and we have lots of challenge for you. It's done. So now that challenge, can I put her back into the pot? Just a B to be able to move the cholent pot. Right? Now the cholent pot I can't move unless I need the makim or unless I need the cholent pot. Right? But if I don't need it, I just don't like it over there. Right? But so I don't want it over there. So I have an eitzah. I'll take the cholent. I'll put it inside the cholent pot. And then I'll just be able to move the cholent wherever I want, because we saw that once there's food inside the cholent pot, so then it's bottled to the food. Can I take cholent and put it in the pot in order to move it around? What? So that l'chayra, so Rabbi Chodi says, why do you have to put any food? Just put inside an orange. So that's borer, that the whole lumdus over here is tuffle. Mishnah Berurah says, the Mishnah is not the biggest right. Mishnah Berurah is talking about stempling the shame of the kli, and saying you can't stempel the shame of the kli because once in a while you put oranges there. He's not asking that. He's saying, I accept that the stempled shame of this kli is a kli shemach al yeser. He accepts that. But he wants to know, but I'll put an orange in it, and now the cholent pot is bottled to the orange. That's his shayla. Okay, that I don't hear at all. Because an orange, it's sicher no shayla that the only time you can say the svar of tafel, the svar of tafel is a Gemara. It's a Gemara Shabbos Kuf Chof Gimel. It's a chiddush. It's a chiddush of the Gemara that when you have something that belongs to it belongs over here. So then the pshat is the pot is tafel to that item because it's all nitful. But nitful is a lumdis. Tafel means that I belong to. I belong over here. You don't belong over here. There's no shayla in the world that maybe if you use the pot and you put oranges in because you don't have anything else, tzarech gufa gvaldik. So then it's called tzarech gufa. But that svar of tafel, that the cholent pot is a shtick of cholent, is a vada svara that is only when something belongs there. It's a davar pasha. You don't even need a raya because it's pasha. But the shal is what about cholent? About cholent, cholent does belong here. How raya? She was here, right? She was there. So can I just take cholent, put it inside? Now the whole thing becomes one big chefs of cholent. That's the shayla I have. From the Lashon, from Mishnah Berurah over here in Sivkat in Chaf, Vav, and Sivkat, that's where he brings it, right? Let's see, do we have anything from his Lashon? And he says, Im Loisha Yesh by Tavshel, no, he doesn't say. Chavav, he says, Aval Munach Sham Davar, I'm a Yuchad law. Agav, he says in the first, those words. If you have something that is meyuchad for it, Kimoi Shum b'meducha, like the Shum in the grinding element in the mortar and the pestle and the other avodas are. But today you see first. I never realized. Mishnah Berurah says just a moment. So Mishnah Berurah first that has to be something that's miyuchad for it. Miyuchad, that it's clear. But says the Mishnah Berurah, "K'may shum b'meducha shesoich gimba," right? Oy shemunach b'kedera ksas meyat tavshel l'kulayam mutter agav akli meichel, agav a meichel. So you don't see mefurish if I would put the tafshil back. In the Mishnah Berurah, you don't really see much. Just a moment. What? What's the difference? It's still food. What's food? They fight. It's still oichel. It's still edible, right? When no one's looking, it's beles breira, you know. But it's oichel. That's they fight nish. I don't mean like a scraping, was you know. It's a suffix parav, suffix flechik, suffix food, suffix whatever. Say that, but it's still food. It's still food. I mean, a minute ago you were eating it and praising your wife and her Hungarian blood, and the only people that know how to make cholent, right? That's about food. But from the Mishnah Berurah, you don't have anything. Klape my shaila. It's like that guy looked in the Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Gimel, which brings it. In the Gemara also Rashi, nothing. There's a Chedush Ran. I don't think it's the Ran because. It's because I have two. I have one which is the cook Rans, and they didn't have this Ran, so I guess the other Ran later. I guess there's something going on there. I don't know. The Zionists found a different Ran. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but the original Ran, whoever it was, who was probably not the real Ran, put it like that. The red ones. So the Chedush Ran over there on the Sugya, he says the Shum. Listen to the lashon of the Ran. He says the Shum. Avada had to have been there. He's talking about the Shum in the Meducha or the Buster in the Kedera. He says Avada had to have been there from before Shabbos. He says why? He says because the only time we ever matir kikar latinaik was by a mace. There's halacha by a mace that you're allowed to take imagine this poor traumatized little fellow, there's the great Uncle Anshel. There he is, tight. So what are we going to do? We got to get him out of here. It's starting to smell. So come here, Zundel. Come, Zundel. Come take Zundel. What's going on? No, nothing. Don't worry. You take Zundel, you put him on the mace. What's so funny? That's what you do. You take him, you put him on the mace. Imagine years in therapy. Years and years of therapies. And sometimes the mace also it jerks around. I remember when I was learning the tire, all the Yanim of the Chakdisha, it comes up like this. Also, imagine he puts his arm around Zundel. So it's years and years of therapy. So much years of therapy. But that's what Chazal had. You see, they were much stronger people back then. They're much stronger people. So Mamela, that says the Ran, it's only by mace, that form of muksa, that we have a heter of putting on a loaf of bread, a challah, or something like that. But never else in the world do we have a concept. Meaning the Ran looked at putting meat into a pot as no shaykhis. As it's so no shaykhis. It would be like taking a piece of bread and putting it on a mace. So you can't be makel. It's only by mace that they gave a special kula. But what do you see in the Ran? You see from the Ran, it looks to me from the Ran that it had to have been there in Erev Shabbos and that it's like a continuation, an amshich, that this is all, it's all one big food. It's all bottled to the food. But to go and do it for that purpose, I would imagine it's not just an orange. And I would think that you would not be allowed to do such a thing. It's a raya brewer from the Ran. Now, the controversy. Okay, not controversy, I'm saying, but yeah. Okay, let's see what we have here. So like this. So there was once all right, this we spoke about. Okay, let's go straight to. All right, let's talk like this. You have to learn to think a little bit out of the box. There's once it's a very interesting shot. There's once a Mizrahi fellow that walked into shul in Sanz. And there he was. He was sporting his gun. It's like called the AK-46, whatever that thing is. He's walking around. He's got his gun. He walks in there, and everybody looked in great dismay and great shock and great this, right? So he said, and I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking that it's a shaila, it's a muksa. It's muksa. So it's not muksa because it's pekuach nefesh. Pekuach nefesh is docha Shabbat. That's what he said, right? So the Kleisenberger was there, the Yatziv. He went on and he wrote a tshuva, the 152nd tshuva about this, and he said, it's not true. It's not true. You know why he's allowed to carry the gun on Shabbos? Because a gun is a klisha malachta leheter. A gun is a klisha malachta leheter, right? It needs a hard get in the Arabs, not often. But it says that that's a klisha malachta leheter. I think it was what I say, Kuf Nun Beis, right? No, it just moved. It just moved. It's in Chelik Gimel in the 148th tshuva. Over there, sorry? He says it's a klish malachta leheter. Rabbi say, what's the roiv usages of a gun? What's the roiv usage of the gun? To kill? To kill? Is it the roiv usage to kill? Avada not, right? Says Rabbi Cooper, you know why? Why do they put around all these police officers? We're not police officers. Army chaver. Why do they put them around over here? Right? Why do they put them around over here? You know what's okay. The ladies they put just so that they should have somewhere to put them. They don't know what to do with them. Right? But why do they put the men with the guns? Why are they putting them over here? What's the answer? The answer is because they want people to be scared. Right? They want people not to go to Kallus, when what's going on, right? They want the Arabs to stay on that side of the bridge, right? That's what they want. It's a scare tactic. So 99.99, most of those guns will never, ever, ever, ever be used to do an isser. Half the time, slowly. Half the time, the gun itself, I was talking to a soldier about a year ago. He told me an interesting thing. He says, Maisa, we have two guns. One of them is Pasha never, ever used. Mam's never ever used. And that's the one that they sit there and scare this and that, right? And then there's another one that they start to shoot once a week, twice a week, they practice or this or that or whatever, all the different things. But what's the ikr shimush and the roiv shimush of the gun? Certainly, to stand there and to scare. Slow. I'm just telling you what the Kleisenberger said. So the Kleisenberger said, a gun is a klish malachte laheter. Rav Elyashiv has in the tshuva, I didn't write down where? No, I didn't write down where, I'm sorry. But it's in Koibitz Tshuvas. Vyashiv has a tshuva about this, and he says that it's a klish malach iser. There's no shayla. There's no shayla. What's the pshat in Rav Elyashiv? What's the pshat? So Elyashiv will tell you, look, what is the reason why they're all so scared of the gun? Right? What's the reason why they're scared of the gun? What's the answer? The answer is because the gun is something which is able to kill. The fear factor of it is based on what it could do. So therefore, what's it miyuad? Maybe not to actually do bepayil, right? But what is the cheftz of a gun? This goes back to what we were speaking about, that when you're trying to be kaveh in a cheftz, here we're not going to look at roiv, and we're not going to look at, roiv usages. It's not going to be like that. Here, the cheftz of it is this is something that can hurt, this is something that can kill, and there's something that doesn't isser. When you shoot, it doesn't isser. Just a moment. And therefore, in such a case, that which generates the fear is from, the Maisa, I saw one sefer, he brings down like this. He brings down, so when it'll come to a pot, the Heintige pot in the year 2020, right? So then Rav Elyashiv will say that a pot is going to be usser. In other words, if you see that Rav Elyashiv, when he looked at a when he looked at a gun, he sees a gun, he sees what's a gun? A gun, its function is to kill. You're not going to use it to kill, but the fear that it's instilled from the gun is from the fact that it has the ability to kill. So therefore, what's it miyuchad for? It's miyuchad to kill, it's miyuchad to hurt, it's miyuchad this. But that which the roiv usage of it is not to do that, is not what's kaveya. We look at the ikr tachlis, and we don't look at its roiv shimush. So that's the same thing by a pot, right? We look at the roiv of its ikr tachlis is to cook, and we don't look at the roiv shimush, which is sitting in the fridge and this and that. The Maisa, Kafi, what you heard yesterday, it's no shaykhs. It's absolutely no shaykhs. In Avada, there's a place where everyone agrees. And that's what we're trying to figure out. By a gun, I could certainly hear of Elyashiv. There, the ikr cheftz of it is one thing, is to hurt, is to kill, is to this. And that is what generates the fear when he walks around holding it. Okay? Mashenke in a pot, we explained yesterday, a pot has a different function. It's a totally gespalten, it's a totally split function from the function of cooking. There's the function of cooking. There's the function of storage. There's the function of serving. It's different functions. It's not just agov, a nimshach from them. It's no shaykhs. It's very you're talking. I'm not saying what Rabbi Elyashiv holds by pat. I do not know what Rabbi Elyashiv holds. But it's not muchach bichlal uchlal. It could be that Rabbi Elyashiv will agree that when it comes to a gun, that's a vada, that's a klish mach l'yeser. And the whole entire, that which comes out of the gun, the usage that comes out of the gun, that which fear, the scare that comes to people, is because of the ikr function of the gun, which is to hurt, which is to kill. But Mashenkin, when it comes to a pot, it's pashut. There's no shaykhs. You have no raya bichlal from what he holds from a gun. Sorry? Sorry? You're asking me to say, Gasha? What?
I was going with no cartilage inside it, so it's not going to come to do it.
It's like, I don't know. It's like what? Like an empty pot, yeah. Okay, it's like an empty pot. Still, the function of it is to do isser. The fact that right now I can't do the isser, right? Right now I can't do the isser, but about the ikr function of it is doing isser. What? Sorry? Halavai. But anyways, yeah, sorry? Yeah. First of all, it's totally not true because the Maisa, they practice with the gun like I heard a minute ago, right? And that's not a pikuach nefesh, right? they're practicing for the potential of pikuach nefesh. A person learning in medical school is not allowed to learn on Shabbos because of pikuach nefesh. So but also that's a big shaila. He's asking a very big shaila, which we have to talk about. Mr. Shem, we have to come back to that shaila. Is every single thing in the hospital kli shemlach leheter? Everything in the hospital is kli shemlach leheter because everything in the hospital is mutter some oifen to use on Shabbos, right? So you're not going to say, so everything in the world is a kli shemlach leheter because everything is mutter when it's pikuach nefesh, because that's not the normal usage of it. But he's saying, let's say you have hospital goods, items in the hospital, which the normal usage of it. So there we're going to have to don. First of all, is the normal usage in a hospital always pikuach nefesh? It depends which ward you're in and this, that. But it could be that it's not the vart. It could be the vart is that, no, these things are kalim that do isser, and they have a heter to do that isser on Shabbos. But that doesn't make it that it's a kli shemlach leheter. Hagam that, of course, it's mutter and a mitzvah to do on Shabbos. But it's the chefts of it is to do an isser. That isser is mutter on Shabbos, right? That's why it's not at all muchach. Sorry. A gun that's broken, and what do? You just use it for fear. That's the bar, yeah. That's for sure. Now, for like this, what happens? You have a gun that when Shabbos came in, it was working, or or at least let's see like this. Let's say you thought it was working or whatever, right? Then comes Shabbos, and you tried to kill an Arab, and you were unsuccessful because the gun didn't work, right? Baruch Hashem, you got away. Right? And here you are now with this gun. Here you are with this gun. So now, did this gun turn into a kli shemlach leheter now? Originally, she was a kli shemlach le'isser, right? Does it turn into a kli shemlach leheter? Because now you're going to use it just for one purpose, which is just to scare, which is only a purpose of heter, right? So that's we said, maybe we'll say migu tiskatzai. Maybe the rule will be hukvah if whatever was at Ben Ishmashis. If that Ben Ishmashis, it was a kli shemlach le'isser. So then in the middle of Shabbos, you can't decide to change that factor. Let's say in the middle of Shabbos, you become like some peace-loving, weird liberal or something. You say, I'm never going to kill again, and this gun will never be used for killing, and that's it, and that's it. You take the cartridge and you throw it in the East River, right? Or in Yam HaMelech, right? And here you are with this gun, and that's it. She's only going to be used to scare and nothing else. So that, but can't change in the middle of Shabbos. And Klape, what you're asking, once something in your hand, that's all different shmooze. You can't just walk around with it also because it's in your hand. No. If you have a hammer in your hand, you can't just say, well, it's in my hand, I'll walk around with it the rest of Shabbos. You have to put it down. There's a whole topic. We're going to learn the whole entire sugya. Sorry? Which thing? Before Shabbos, before Ben Hashmashis, not yet. Before Ben Hashmashis, about that. Before Ben Hashmashis, if you kaveya, if let's say you become a peace liberal, you don't want to kill anybody anymore unless they're Jewish or whatever, something like that, right? And you decide that all before Shabbos, right? You decide before Shabbos, so then that's it, and then it becomes officially how to do a yichud and how to do that. We'll have to see. Do you have to do a maisa? All these things we're going to have to talk about in Mitzvah Hashem. So that's not even the controversy. That's not the controversy. What?
Now that the kli shemlach is done.
This gun, the fear of the Yashiv.
Right. So
I'm not derech agav. I'm saying I'm not able to machriya between these two tzadim, but I'm not very much like Rav Yashiv. I'm not like Rav Yashiv. That the pashtus is, I think, like Rav Yashiv. That Avada, this is not going to be an example of where you look at Roy. This is exactly what we were coming lafuke yesterday. Bidiyuk to say bidiyuk like Rav Yashiv. In other words, the whole idea of when you look at Roiv is when something doesn't have a yichud, a imid for a miyuchid kai. Versteht a gun, versteht is miyuchid for its sorry. The reason you make a gun and the reason anybody buys a gun is because it has that afsharius to kill and pashit, there's no shaila. And now that which it's nimshach that I could use it also to fear is avada, not something which becomes now dikr shame of the cheftza. All the Mishnah Berurah is saying is when we look at Roiv is when we don't have a clarity in what its yud is. It's a davar pashit like Rav Yashiv. That's right.
Now that that's clean, people ask now that it's
yeah.
Is holding it to the fear.
Yeah. So now and Hanami, right? So very good. So he says, Verstetzach is still going to be allowed to hold the gun. In other words, if he would have walked into Rav Yashiv's base medrash, right, and he would have said, "I know what you're thinking. The gun is muksa." Right, but it's not. It's pikuach nefesh. So Rav Yashiv would have said, "No, it's a kli shemlach le'isser, and it's matil tzar gufay, and the tzar gufay is to scare, and that's a very big tzar gufay. You're using the gun for a tachlis of scaring, which is matil gomer. The only nafka will be is that you won't be able to stand move around your gun or whatever like that. Very good, 100%. What? That's already we'll talk about, but that goes into what Rabbi Jody was talking about, pikuach nefesh items. Do we look at a pikuach nefesh item and say that since it's always oimid for a dover that is mutter, maybe she gets a din of a klishum lakta leheter? But that's a big shayla. It could be we don't say that. It could be we say that a cellular radio is a klishum lakta isser, and that you have a heter to use it. And what'll be the heter? It'll be, in this case, what'll be the heter to move it around? It'll be tzara gufay. Or you have to see. But that when we get to pikuach nefesh items and whatnot, we'll talk about it more. Mitzvah. Sorry? Yeah. It's called a bayonet. Yeah. Yeah.
So that if you have the bayonet, then there's what's this story like that.
But that's also, I'm saying it's the same thing. The tachlis of that knife is not to cut your schnitzel. Right? It's to cut him and make him into a schnitzel. Yeah. What? 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's the shooting itself. There's an isser to shoot. Yeah, and nobody should shoot. It also explodes the bullet. It's also probably an isser of, I don't know, Aish, or who knows, a Havara. I'm sure there's an isser in shooting itself, right? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm scared of every gun, but okay, but go on. No, the Yatziv. The Kleisenberger said the Tachlis is to scare.
I'm saying it's scaring people because it's a scary gun. You won't have like a soldier, a little tiny baby claw and a reed gun.
No. I mean, I wouldn't say it like that, but I say the nafkamina is that sometimes you have that guy in the shul sitting next to you, and he's got, I'm talking about, he's got that thing in the, and the jacket is going out the ear, and you think, oh, the poor guy has got some like weird back matziv or something, and then you realize what that thing is, right? So that gun is not there to scare. That gun's not to scare. That gun is just to hurt and to kill. And so that's a whole different shmooze, right? But a regular gun that somebody sees, it's one of the functions of the gun, and that'll be the fight. That'll be the fight. Now, let me say one more thing here, Rabbi Yisai. Got late here. It's kind of late. It got late here. All right. What time is it? What happened here today? We didn't do anything today. What happened? We didn't learn one word today. No? I know, this never happened before in the history of this year. No, I can't go into. I wanted to go into a car now, but it's too long to go into a car. All right, I'll leave you with one thing to think about. How's that? Okay, I'll leave you two things. These like short things as I can talk about. If you have a cookbook on Shabbos. Now, if you want to take a cookbook and you want to put the kid on it to sit on it or something, so that's a gufay. So that's, let's say you want to take the cookbook and you just want to move it over or something like that. So it's a cookbook. Is it a kli? Now, sometimes, okay. What's a cookbook? Computer, what is a cookbook? It's something, yes. And the problem is with a cookbook is you get involved in another sugya that is a sugya of shtaria dioitis. That shtaria dioitis is a whole sugya that anything that has information, especially information of Isser, it could be even non-information of Isser, the Chazal made a gzeira that you're not allowed to read it. So the Maisa, anyways, a cookbook is going to be a klish malachta the Isser anyways, because it's a malachta to do the Isser of reading the recipe, of reading the davar Isser, which itself is Asr al shtaria dioitis. But the Maisa, even without that, a cookbook is something which teaches you how to do Isser. It enables the Isser. This is very related to as far as that we spoke about already, right? This is something that enables you to do an Isser. Now, for some reason, I don't know why. I was looking up something today. There's an art scroll book on Hilchas Muksa. In the 183rd page there, he says that a cookbook is not a klish machli Isser, but tzarich in gadol. I mean, I don't know why it would be that. Well, because the cookbook has halacha in it. I don't know what cookbook he was talking about, but he should certainly. He means only the Beis Yaakov cookbook. Yeah.
No, it wasn't out.
Yeah. Well,
It wasn't out.
it wasn't out then. Now what are you going to do? It was put out by Art Scroll, right? No, but the Maisa, the kli shemalachta li'isa. So the kli shemalachta li'isa will be mutter for tzarich kufa. That's what I was thinking. If you have in there, let's say some type of a salad dressing, you're getting involved in a shiloh shtaria dioitis. Shtaria dioitis says even mutter things you're not allowed to read on Shabbos, right?
It's just for plating.
Sorry? No, so let's say Hilchas Chala, I don't know. Let's say like he's saying, well, no, Chala on Shabbos. Hilchas, what? How to plate things. Just a picture. That's interesting. That's interesting. So it's a clean, just a moment.
There's a lot of these magazines.
One moment. You want to look just at the picture. That's a good case. That's very good. I was trying to find the case. I couldn't think of a case. I couldn't think of a case of a tzarech gufay except putting the kid on. He says he has a great case. It's a klishim achtal, looking just at the picture. You're going to be able to turn each page. Why? Because it's tzarech. Tzarech what? Tzarech what? Tzarech makim. It's blocking the makim. You're not using the page. Gufay means I'm using the page. Here it's blocking the makim. I need to get to that makim, so it's blocking the makim. Then once I get there, I'm allowed to look at the picture. Why can't you look at the picture on Shabbos? It's got there's a chazanish that holds you can't, but the Ma'aser Shabbos sounds like it could. So Pashas, that's a good case. I like that. Very good. I couldn't think of a case. Very good. Just a moment. I'm almost finished. Then I was thinking that like this. One last case. I told you about the ladder and this, right? So I was thinking like this. This is how I got into the conversation. The person is he's a Meshiv Berkowitz Kallus, and he was telling me this thing about the computer chair and whatever. We got into the conversation about a ladder. That's how the conversation got. So he told me that he knows that Berkowitz was clearing a shaila about the overalls. You know what overalls are? Right? The overalls, like they have like of a painter. So the only time he wears them is when he paints. It enables him to paint. So is that like a chair? Is that like a ladder? The chair we told you is a separate chefza. That's pashit, the chefza of sitting. And the ladder, I told you, is pashit that you'll be kaveh kafi the roiv of the shemesh of the ladder, the be kaveh kafi the shemesh of the roiv of how you use it, because it does enable an isser if you use it always for isser. What about overalls? Now there is a function of not being naked. All right, that's for sure. But what? I'm sorry?
Just so you don't get dirty.
I mean, like Michelangelo. These are Yeshiva guys. They're not even going to know what that means. What are you talking about? But no, you can't paint naked. No. But he's asking a question. I was thinking like the chefza of the overall is there for what? Is that I should be wearing clothing, right? It's like, he's not wearing pants, underneath the overalls. If he's wearing pants, let's say he would have pants, and then he would have like an apron, okay? An apron, like a big apron. We're gonna get to that's different because there he uses it to serve, so it doesn't do an isser and whatever. But let's say he has an apron, which maybe he has an apron, he just cooks in, maybe okay. But let's say in this case, a painting apron. He has an apron that he just paints in this apron. He just paints, but he wears pants over it too. So now the clothing is not there for the purpose of making it that he shouldn't be like get arrested and whatever, right? It's that he doesn't want to, it blocks his clothing from getting dirty. So Mela, it's something that its chefza is enabling the painting, but it's a very indirect thing. I can't place it. Meaning, not getting my clothing dirty is not an isser, right? You're allowed to not get your clothing dirty, but the only time I wear this is when. So that's where our conversation started. He said, Berkowitz holds pashit that's considered a klish machal yisser, right? And then we went into the computer chair. Okay, if you're going with that attitude, that ashkafa, then avada. The question is, let's say you go with this attitude, that a computer chair is no shayla, it's not a klish machal yisser. And a ladder, we heard, depending on what you use the ladder for, where do you put the overalls? No, or frankly, you're my kasha, no? It's a shayla. No? It's a shayla. What? Is there a maris ayin that people are going to think I'm going to paint or something, right? No, but that's already, I can't make up such a maris ayin. You have to have a raya from Chazal to such a thing. You have to have a raya to Chazal. No, it's an interesting shot. No, it's not an interesting shot. I'm not to that the chefza, it's not to the get practically, because I'm not that most of them don't wear pants underneath. So Mela, the chefza of being dressed, Hagam, these clothing I only wear when I paint, that's not going to bother me, because the ikar function of just a moment. Not like a hard hat. A hard hat I can hear a lot more. A hard hat I could hear a lot more would be like it's something which enables working. That I hear a lot more. That I can hear more than overalls, because there the pshat is he's not like a from a yid was kite mit yamaka and not kite mit blazing cup and does. He's not trying to wear the hat in order that it's had so much year shamayim and does. He's wearing the hat to enable him to do the work. It's the arbetin. I don't know. The hard hat I could put more with Yana ladder with Yana dust. The overalls I'm like the way that we have the overalls is more like that. But let's have an apron. Let's have an apron which enables. And I don't know. Very specific. So we'll continue tomorrow. On Wednesdays I come upstairs, so I'm going to come up now. Rabbi say, and hang out with you guys. Whoever doesn't have a chavrusa, come to me. Go to Rabbi say. Go to Rabbi.